The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday. I was eating breakfast at my sister's kitchen table in Columbus, wearing the same pajamas I'd worn for 3 days straight, when the courier knocked. Official dissolution of marriage. The end of 11 years condensed into a manila envelope. I signed where the lawyer's sticky notes indicated, my hand steady even though everything inside me was shaking. Gregory had already signed. His signature looked exactly like it always did. Neat, precise, unchanging. The same signature that used to be on love notes in my lunch bag, on anniversary cards, on the mortgage for the house I'd never live in again. The courier waited impatiently while I found each yellow flag. Sign here, initial here, date here. Such small actions to end something so big. My married name, Stephanie Coleman, written for the last time. Soon I'd be Stephanie Mitchell again, like the last 11 years never happened. Like I never stood in that church in my grandmother's pearls promising to love and cherish. Like I never gave birth to 2 children with Gregory's eyes. Like I never destroyed it all for absolutely nothing. 6 months ago, I had that house. A husband who cooked dinner every night because he knew I hated meal planning after 12-hour shifts. 2 kids who still believed in forever. A life that my single friends called boring but that fit me like a favorite sweater. Now I'm 35, living with my sister, seeing my children every other weekend, and working double shifts at the hospital to afford a studio apartment. The studio I'm looking at is 400 square feet. The kitchen is a hot plate and mini fridge. The bathroom has mold in the corner that the landlord promises he'll fix, but we both know he won't. It's $800 a month, which is what Gregory and I used to spend on family vacations. But it's what I can afford now that I'm paying my own lawyer, my own bills, my own consequences. All because I listened to the wrong voices. All because I let 3 single women convince me that contentment was settling, that stability was stagnation, that a good man wasn't good enough if he didn't make my heart race every day. You deserve passion, they said. You deserve adventure, they said. You deserve more, they said. What I deserved was exactly what I had. What I got was exactly what I earned. Nothing. Let me tell you how I destroyed my own life by listening to women who had no idea what they were talking about. Let me tell you about the Tuesday night book club that was never really about books. Let me tell you how I took a good man for granted until he was gone. Gregory and I met in college, married at 24, had our first child at 27. By 34, we'd built exactly the life we'd planned. Suburban house in Dublin, good schools, stable careers, Friday pizza nights, and Sunday morning pancakes. Was it exciting? Number. Was it Instagram-worthy? Rarely. Was it real and good and mine? Absolutely. The house had 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and a finished basement where Gregory had built a playroom for the kids. He spent 3 months on that playroom, installing foam tiles so they wouldn't hurt themselves, mounting the TV at exactly the right height, organizing every toy into labeled bins because he knew I hated clutter. That's who Gregory was. The kind of man who spent his weekends building the perfect playroom instead of golfing with buddies. "You're so lucky," my cousin used to say. "Mike would never do all that." I'd shrug, already taking it for granted. Already thinking about what he wasn't instead of seeing all that he was. But real and good started feeling like not enough when I joined the book club. It started innocently. My coworker Amanda invited me to join her monthly gathering. "We read a book, drink wine, decompress from kids and husbands," she said. "You'll love it." The group met at Amanda's downtown loft, the kind of place single people with disposable income live. Exposed brick, floor-to-ceiling windows, furniture that no sticky toddler hands had ever touched. Besides Amanda, there was Brianna and Jade. All 3 were single, successful, and full of opinions about my marriage. "Gregory sounds sweet," Brianna said during my first meeting, after I'd mentioned he was home putting the kids to bed. "Very domesticated." The way she said domesticated made it sound like an insult. "He's a good father," I said defensively. "Of course he is," Jade chimed in, swirling her wine. "Good fathers are everywhere." "But is he a good lover? Does he still pursue you? When's the last time he surprised you?" I thought about it. Gregory didn't really do surprises. He did consistency. He did reliability. He did showing up every single day without complaint. But surprises? Romance? Those had faded somewhere around year 5, replaced by deeper things I was too blind to value. When we were dating, he used to write me poems, I admitted after my 3rd glass of wine. Used to? Amanda pounced on the words. And now? Now I don't know. He does other things. Makes my coffee every morning, records my shows when I work late, puts gas in my car so I don't have to stop on the way to work. They exchanged glances, the kind of glances women share when they think someone's settling. Honey, Brianna said gently, like she was explaining something to a child. That's not romance. That's a roommate with a joint checking account. Marriage is different, I said. It's not all passion all the time. Why not? Amanda asked. Why do we accept that? Men don't. They expect their wives to stay hot, stay interested, stay fun, but we're supposed to be grateful for... what? Someone who remembers to take out the trash? Gregory does more than take out the trash. I'm sure he does, Brianna said. But when you first met, did you dream about marrying someone who does more than take out the trash? Or did you dream about marrying someone who'd worship you forever? That question haunted me all the way home. In bed that night, I watched Gregory sleep. He was snoring softly, one arm thrown over my side of the bed like always, reaching for me even in sleep. When had I stopped finding that endearing? When had safety become suffocation? The book club meetings became less about books and more about their philosophy on relationships. Every month they'd share their dating adventures, the executives who flew them to Miami, the artists who wrote them poetry, the younger men who couldn't keep their hands off them. Then they'd turn to me with pity. What did you and Gregory do this weekend? They'd ask. Took the kids to the zoo, had dinner with his parents, cleaned out the garage. They'd exchange looks. Poor Stephanie, stuck in suburban hell while they lived their best lives. You're 34, Amanda reminded me one night after I'd mentioned our upcoming 11th anniversary. Is this really how you want to spend your prime years? Cleaning garages and having dinner with in-laws? I have children. So? Plenty of single moms date. Look at Jennifer Lopez. I'm not Jennifer Lopez. I'm a nurse from Ohio with stretch marks and a mortgage. That's exactly the kind of thinking that keeps you stuck, Jade said. You've internalized this idea that you're not worthy of more. That Gregory is doing you a favor by being faithful and employed. He's not doing me a favor. We're partners. Partners in what? Boredom? I started defending Gregory less and complaining about him more. It felt good having an audience for every petty grievance. He left his socks on the bedroom floor. He wanted to watch the same TV shows every night. He'd rather grill in the backyard than try the new fusion restaurant downtown. Classic complacency, Brianna diagnosed. He's stopped trying because he knows you're not going anywhere. Maybe I should go somewhere, I said one night, wine making me bold. Show him I'm not a sure thing. Yes, Amanda practically shrieked. Make him chase you again. Remind him what he could lose. Their advice started small. Don't always be available. Make plans without him. Stop asking permission. Start taking action. I joined a gym. Not the family YMCA where Gregory and I used to take the kids swimming, but an expensive CrossFit place downtown. $75 a month we didn't really have, but the book club said I needed to invest in myself. You've let yourself go, Amanda had said during one particularly wine-soaked meeting, her eyes traveling over my mom body. When's the last time you felt sexy? I'd looked down at myself. The soft belly that had carried 2 babies, the thighs that had widened with each pregnancy, the breasts that had nursed for 2 years total. This body had done amazing things, but all I could see were its failures. I started going out after work instead of rushing home. Happy hours with coworkers who didn't have families waiting. Gregory never complained, just adjusted. He'd feed the kids, help with homework, handle bedtime alone. When I'd stumble in at 10, smelling of wine and the stale smoke of cigarettes I'd started bumming, he'd already have my pajamas laid out on the bed. "How was your night?" he'd ask, not accusingly, just interested. "Fine. Fun, you wouldn't understand." Try me. But I didn't want him to understand. I wanted him to be jealous, to demand I come home, to fight for me the way men did in the romance novels the book club was supposedly reading but never actually discussed. I bought new clothes that Gregory raised his eyebrows at. Low-cut tops and tight dresses that looked ridiculous at school pickup but made me feel 25 again. "You look nice," he'd say carefully. "Special occasion? Can't a woman want to look good for herself?" I'd snap, parroting words that weren't mine. "Of course. You look great. Different, but great. Different. That became my goal. Be different. Be unpredictable. Be the kind of woman who had options. The problem with pretending you have options is that eventually someone offers you one. His name was Keith, a pharmaceutical rep who came by the hospital 10 years younger with the kind of attention that felt like a drug. He noticed my new clothes, my new confidence, my wedding ring. "Husband's a lucky man," he said during one visit. "He doesn't seem to think so," I replied, the words bitter and automatic. "Then he's an idiot." I should have shut it down there. Instead, I smiled, let him flirt, started looking forward to his visits, mentioned him at book club. "A younger man who actually sees you," Jade said approvingly. "This is exactly what you needed." "I'm married." "To someone who takes you for granted." "Keith sounds like he'd appreciate you." "I can't have an affair." "Who said anything about an affair?" Amanda asked. "Just coffee, just conversation. You deserve to feel desired." Coffee became lunch. Lunch became drinks. Drinks became me, sitting in Keith's car in the hospital parking garage, knowing I was about to cross a line I could never uncross. His car smelled like expensive cologne and leather. Nothing like Gregory's minivan with its goldfish crackers ground into the floor mats and sticky fingerprints on the windows. Keith's car was pristine, adult, belonging to someone whose biggest responsibility was himself. "I should go," I said when he leaned in. My wedding ring caught the light from the parking garage's fluorescent bulbs. I'd lost weight from the gym and stress, and the ring was loose now, sliding around my finger like it was trying to escape. "You should," he agreed, not moving back. "But do you want to?" I thought about Gregory, probably at home helping with homework. Connor struggling with long division, Ella practicing her spelling words. Gregory had infinite patience for homework, would sit for hours making up silly songs to help them remember math facts. He'd made up a rap about the 9 times tables that Connor still hummed during tests. "My husband," I started. "Doesn't appreciate what he has," Keith finished. "When's the last time he looked at you like I'm looking at you now?" But Gregory did look at me. Every morning when I woke up, every night before bed. He looked at me like I was his whole world. I just wanted him to look at me like I was a stranger in a bar again, like I was a mystery instead of a sure thing. I kissed Keith back. The affair lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks of sneaking around, lying about working late, deleting texts, feeling alive and horrible in equal measure. 3 weeks of my friends cheering me on, telling me I deserved passion, I deserved excitement, I deserved to feel young again. Keith had an apartment downtown, all glass and chrome and surfaces that showed every fingerprint. We'd meet there during my lunch breaks, and I'd return to work with my scrubs wrinkled, my hair hastily fixed, my wedding ring burning on my finger like evidence. "You look happy," Amanda observed at the next book club. "Getting some vitamin D?" They all laughed. These women who'd never sustained a relationship past 6 months, who spent their weekends swiping through dating apps and complaining that all the good men were taken. They were my relationship advisors. "He wants to take me away for a weekend," I told them, the words sticking in my throat. "To Chicago." "Some boutique hotel." "Oh my God, yes," Brianna squealed. "When?" "Nah, Next month, there's a conference I could say I'm attending. Perfect. Gregory will never know. But that was the problem. Gregory trusted me. Completely. If I said I was going to a conference, he'd help me pack, remind me to bring my phone charger, kiss me goodbye at the door, and tell me to learn something interesting to share when I got back. He'd probably use the weekend to deep clean the house because he knew I hated coming home to mess. You're glowing, Brianna said at the next meeting. Getting laid by someone new will do that. It's wrong, I said weakly. What's wrong is wasting your life with someone who sees you as a roommate, Amanda countered. You're finally living. But I wasn't living. I was dying inside, guilt eating me alive. Every time Gregory smiled at me, every time the kids hugged me, every time we sat at the dinner table like a family, I wanted to scream. The end came when Keith suggested we spend a weekend away. Tell your husband it's a work conference, he said casually. We could have 2 whole days together? That's when it hit me. The casualness of his deception. The ease with which he suggested I lie to the man I'd promised to honor. Keith didn't love me. He didn't even respect me. I was just another married woman making bad choices in his car. I ended it that day. Blocked his number, changed my schedule to avoid him, tried to pretend it never happened. But guilt doesn't care about your pretending. 2 weeks later, I broke. Gregory was folding laundry, humming off key like always, and I couldn't stand it anymore. His goodness in the face of my betrayal. He was folding my scrubs with the same care he folded his work shirts, making sure the creases were straight, organizing them by color because he knew I liked to grab them quickly in the dark mornings. The man I was betraying was folding my laundry with love, and I was coming apart at the seams. I need to tell you something, I said. He looked up, saw my face, and sat down slowly on our bed. The bed where we'd conceived our children, where we'd spent countless Sunday mornings reading the paper, where I'd nursed both babies while he brought me water and snacks. Okay. I had an affair. It's over. It meant nothing. I'm so sorry. The words hung in the air like poison. I watched them hit him, watched his face crumble and rebuild itself into something I didn't recognize. Gregory had always been an open book, every emotion clear on his face. Now he was closed, locked, gone. Who? He asked quietly. Someone from work. Keith, a drug representative. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking, still holding my purple scrubs. How long? 3 weeks. 3 weeks? He set the scrubs down carefully, precisely, like they might explode. Where? Gregory dash. Where? His voice cracked on the word. His apartment. During lunch. Never here, never in our bed. Our bed. He laughed, but it sounded like breaking glass. How considerate of you. I told him everything. The book club, the growing resentment they'd fostered, Keith, the parking garage, the 3 weeks of lies. He listened without interrupting, his face getting more and more closed off with every word. They said you didn't appreciate me, I finished lamely. That I was settling for a roommate instead of a lover. That I deserved passion. Passion. He stood up suddenly, pacing to the window. You know what's passionate? Getting up at 3 a.m. with a sick kid so you can sleep because you have a 12-hour shift. That's passion. Saving for 2 years to buy you that piano you'd only mentioned wanting once. That's passion. Choosing you every single day for 11 years, even when you were difficult, even when you were distant, even when you joined that toxic book club and started treating me like I was the enemy. That's passion, Stephanie, not screwing some pharmaceutical rep in his bachelor pad. Say something else, I begged when he stopped. What do you want me to say? That it's okay, that I understand, that we can work through this? Yes, please, it was a mistake, a stupid, horrible mistake. No, Gregory said, turning to face me. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. What you did was a decision, Multiple decisions. For weeks. You chose him when you gave him your number. You chose him when you met for coffee. You chose him when you went to his apartment. You chose him when you came home to our children with another man's smell on you. The book club didn't kiss him. The book club didn't lie to me. The book club didn't break our vows. You did. You let 3 bitter women who've never had a successful relationship convince you that our life wasn't enough. And for what? For Keith? Is Keith going to help Connor with his anxiety? Is Keith going to know that Ella needs her purple blanket to sleep? Is Keith going to love you when you're sick, when you're old, when you're not the exciting new thing anymore? Gregory, please. Think of the kids. I am thinking of the kids. I'm thinking they deserve better than a mother who throws away their family because some bitter single woman convinced her she was missing out. That's not fair. Fair? He laughed, but it was hollow. You want to talk about fair? Fair is 11 years of marriage. Fair is building a life together. Fair is trusting your wife not to screw around because she's bored. He left that night, packed a bag and went to his brother's house. The kids cried, confused why Daddy was leaving, why Mommy was crying, why everything was falling apart. "Where's Daddy going?" Ella asked, clutching her purple blanket, the one Gregory had driven to 3 stores to find because it had to be exactly the right shade. "He needs to visit Uncle James for a while." I lied, the first of many lies I'd tell them. "But tomorrow's Pancake Sunday," Connor said, his voice small. "Dad always makes Pancake Sunday." Pancake Sunday. Gregory's tradition since Connor was old enough to eat solid food. He'd make elaborate shapes, dinosaurs, spaceships, their initials. He'd let them help mix the batter, not caring about the mess. He'd flip them high in the air just to make them laugh. I usually slept in on Sundays, waking to the sound of their giggles and the smell of maple syrup. "Maybe we can have cereal instead," I said, and Connor's face crumpled. "I don't want cereal." "I want Daddy." So did I. But I'd thrown Daddy away for a man who couldn't even remember my kids' names. "It's temporary," I told myself. "Daddy just needs some space." But space became separation. Separation became lawyers. Lawyers became custody agreements and asset division and the end of everything we'd built. My friends were supportive at first. "He'll come back," Amanda assured me. "They always do." "And if he doesn't, you're free," Brianna added. "Free to find someone who actually deserves you." But as weeks turned to months, and Gregory didn't come back, their support wavered. They had their own lives, their own dramas. My marital crisis became old news, just another story in their rotation of failed relationships. "Maybe it's for the best," Jade said at what would be my last book club meeting. "You weren't happy anyway." "I was happy," I said, the truth finally clear. "I was happy and too stupid to know it." They exchanged glances. The poor suburban housewife, idealizing her failed marriage. They didn't understand. How could they? They'd never had what I threw away. They'd never known the quiet joy of a partner who shows up every day, who knows your coffee order and your fears and your dreams. They mistook drama for passion, chaos for excitement, options for freedom. Amanda was dating 3 men simultaneously, none of whom knew about the others. She called it keeping her options open. I called it exhausting. Brianna hadn't had a relationship last more than 6 months in the 5 years I'd known her. Every man had some fatal flaw. Too short, too quiet, too stable, too everything that might have made him a good partner. Jade was 42 and still waiting for her perfect man, the one who would sweep her off her feet and never disappoint her. She'd been waiting 20 years, turning down good men for the promise of a great one who existed only in her imagination. These were my advisors. These were the women I'd let poison my marriage. Women who couldn't maintain a healthy relationship if their lives depended on it, but who spoke with absolute authority about what I deserved, what I was missing, what I should demand. I stopped going to book club, stopped returning their calls. They moved on to the next member, the next marriage to dissect, the next woman to convince that good wasn't good enough. Meanwhile, I moved in with my sister, got scheduled visitation with my children, watched Gregory rebuild his life without me. He started working out, joined a hiking club, learned to cook beyond grilling. All the things my friends said he should have been doing while we were married, he did after I destroyed us. "Dad's happier," my daughter told me one weekend. "He smiles more." Those words cut deeper than any divorce decree. I'd spent so much time listening to people tell me Gregory was holding me back that I never considered I might be the weight dragging him down. "He's taking us camping next weekend," Connor added excitedly. "Real camping with tents and everything. He said we can roast marshmallows and tell ghost stories." Gregory had wanted to take the kids camping for years. I'd always said no. Too messy, too uncomfortable, too much work. Now he was free to be the father he'd always wanted to be, without me there complaining about the bugs and the dirt and the lack of proper bathrooms. "That sounds fun," I managed. "You can come too," Ella said hopefully. "Dad wouldn't mind." But he would mind. The man who used to save me the last bite of dessert, who used to warm my side of the bed on cold nights, who used to leave love notes in my lunch bag. That man would very much mind if I invaded his camping trip, because I wasn't his wife anymore. I was just the woman who'd broken his heart and destroyed his family, because some single friends convinced me I deserved better. 6 months after the confession, here I am. The divorce papers signed and sent, my children adjusting to 2 homes, my ex-husband becoming someone new without me. And me? I'm exactly where my choices led me. Alone, regretful, and finally understanding what I had only after I threw it away. My sister tries to be supportive. "You'll meet someone new," she says. "Someone who makes you feel the way Keith did, but without the guilt." But I don't want someone who makes me feel the way Keith did. That was artificial, unsustainable, built on lies and the thrill of the forbidden. I want someone who makes me feel the way Gregory did, back when I was smart enough to appreciate it. Safe, loved, chosen every single day, even when choosing me meant folding my underwear and listening to me complain about work, and watching the same shows because they made me laugh. I want the life I had, the life I torched, because 3 unhappy women convinced me happiness looked like their kind of misery. The book club still meets, I hear. New members, same wine, same toxic advice disguised as empowerment. Sometimes I want to crash a meeting, warn whatever married woman they're currently working on. Don't listen to them, I'd say. They don't know what they're talking about. They've never had someone bring them tea in bed every morning. They've never had someone who knows that you need to sleep with the fan on even in winter. They've never had someone who'd rather be bored with you than excited with anyone else. I ran into their newest victim at the grocery store last week. Jennifer, married 8 years, 2 kids. She was buying wine and complaining on the phone about her husband. "He wants to stay in and watch a movie again," she said, rolling her eyes. I know, right? Every Friday it's the same thing. I need some excitement in my life. I wanted to grab her shoulders and shake her. I wanted to show her my studio apartment listing, my custody schedule, my therapy bills. I wanted to tell her what really comes next. Instead, I said nothing. You can't save someone who doesn't know they need saving. You can't make someone value what they have until it's gone. They think that's settling. It's not. It's winning the lottery and being too foolish to cash the ticket. Gregory's dating now. A teacher from his hiking club. Age-appropriate, drama-free, appreciates him in all the ways I didn't. My son mentioned she makes great lasagna and doesn't mind that Dad quotes movies constantly. She laughs at his jokes, even the bad ones. Especially the bad ones. Her name is Patricia. She's 37, divorced with no kids, teaches 4th grade at a private school in Worthington. She has a master's degree and volunteers at the Literacy Center on weekends. Everything I learned from Connor, who apparently adores her. She helped me with my science project, he told me last weekend. We built a volcano that actually explodes. Mom, it was so cool. She knew exactly how much baking soda to use. I smiled and nodded, dying inside. I'd never helped with science projects. Too messy, too time-consuming. Gregory had always handled those while I scrolled through my phone, reading about other people's more exciting lives. "She's nice," my daughter said carefully. "Different from you, but nice." Different from me. Yes. She probably doesn't have friends telling her she deserves better. She probably doesn't mistake stability for stagnation. She probably looks at Gregory and sees him for what he truly is, a good man worth keeping. "Does she make pancakes?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "No," Ella said. "That's still just Dad's thing. But she brings fresh fruit to put on top, strawberries cut like flowers." Of course she does. Of course Patricia enhances what Gregory does instead of taking it for granted. Of course she sees his pancake tradition as something special instead of something boring. I had that. For 11 years, I had that. And I threw it away for 3 weeks in a parking garage with a man whose last name I can barely remember. Keith Summers? Summers? I never saved his number under his full name, just K with a heart emoji. How pathetic is that? I destroyed my family for a man whose last name I'm not even sure of. He transferred to a different territory 2 weeks after I confessed to Gregory. Didn't even say goodbye. Just stopped showing up at the hospital, stopped returning texts. I was old news, yesterday's conquest, a story he probably told his buddies over beers. "There was this nurse, married totally into me," I imagine him saying. "Easiest 3 weeks ever." Meanwhile, Gregory still has the photo from our wedding as his laptop background at work. Connor mentioned it last week. He's not pining for me. He's just not the kind of man to erase 11 years of history because of a bad ending. That's the difference between Gregory and everyone else. He doesn't need to pretend the past didn't happen to move forward. The morning mist is burning off outside my sister's kitchen window. Another Tuesday, another day in my new life that isn't new anymore. Just different. Lesser. The divorce papers are ready for the courier. The end of my marriage reduced to signatures and dates. I think about calling Gregory, telling him I understand now. That the book club was wrong, that I was wrong, that good men aren't everywhere, that stability isn't boring, that a partner who chooses you every day is the greatest romance there is, but I don't call. Some mistakes can't be undone. Some trust can't be rebuilt. Some good men, once lost, stay lost. Instead, I seal the envelope, hand it to the courier, watch him drive away with the last piece of my old life. Tonight, my sister will try to cheer me up. Maybe suggest I try online dating, join a club, get back out there. She means well. Everyone means well. But I'm not ready to date. May never be ready. Because now I know what I'm looking for. Someone like Gregory. Someone exactly like Gregory. Someone I already had and threw away because I listened to the wrong voices. To anyone reading this, don't be me. Don't let bitter friends poison your contentment. Don't mistake peace for boredom. Don't throw away good for the promise of better. Because better is often just different, and different is often just worse. If you have someone who comes home to you every night, who knows your middle name and your favorite song and how you take your eggs, who chooses you even when you're difficult, who builds a life with you brick by boring brick, that's not settling, that's everything. I had everything. I listened to women who had nothing tell me it wasn't enough. Now I have nothing too. And I finally understand that everything I thought I was missing was nothing compared to everything I had.